It's been a long time since I've seen one of these guys. Oh my goodness, folks. All right, good morning, folks. It's Nick Mulbauer here, and this morning we have an impending winter storm coming in the next hour, actually. So we're supposed to get, I think, 1 to 3 or 3 to 5 inches of snow this morning, and then we got rain all afternoon after that. So I'm assuming the barometric pressure is about bottoming out. It's really cloudy. We got a strong wind coming out of the southeast, but fortunately this body of water behind me is protected from the south, so I kind of decided to fish it. And the areas I think the fish might be holding to this morning are kind of protected. We've had a week of cold weather, so I really think that those fish might have moved into a little bit deeper water than what they were last week. Last weekend they were feeding up on a shallow flat that was sun-baked from a week of warm weather, but now that we've had a week of cold weather, I'm assuming the temperatures have dropped off in the water a little bit. So I'm going to fish some points with a paddletail swim bait just to cover water. I think that they still might be biting a paddletail this morning, but if not, we'll switch it up. I also have, oddly enough, a top water on. Never fish a top water this time of year, but I just kind of want to try it just to see, because I've caught bass on top water in 40-degree water. So maybe try it in the spring instead of fall. So we're going to try those two lures first, and if they don't work, we'll switch things up. But I'm going to put the GoPro on the hat and we'll get out there and catch some fish. Stay tuned, guys. Should be a fun morning. All right, good morning, folks. We got the GoPro on, and look at that, within 5 minutes. Nice little bass. Choke the Keitech Impact Fat, guys. Right there. We've been fishing 5 minutes. There we go, nice little chunk. These fish have such a strong, muscly build in this body of water. It's so awesome. This water's pretty dirty. My bait disappears pretty quick, so I have almost a flat white. It's like a flat white on top, translucent on the bottom, as you can see there. So I think that's kind of a good color for dirtier water. It stands out a little bit, but not too much. And it also has that paddle tail, so it's whipping up some, you know, motion. It's creating some vibration in the water for their lateral line to maybe feel that bait. So if they're not relying just on sight, they can maybe feel that lure as well, just kind of vibrating through the water column. So that was only like 5 minutes, guys, straight up, where I caught that bass. So let's get that lure back out there and see if we can catch a couple more. As you can see, there's precipitation already coming in, so this storm is just starting to move in. So we'll get that bait back out there and see if we can't catch a couple more bass this morning. Please don't be a carp. Oh, wow. That's smallmouth. Oh my gosh, guys. Look at this smallmouth. Ooh, it's been a long time since I've seen one of these guys. Oh my goodness, folks. That is the catch of the day. That is example number 2 of why we come out in the freezing cold March temps. Beautiful smallmouth. Holy heck. We're gonna get her back, guys. That is a girthy smallmouth. We do not have fish like this in my area very regularly. This is a very special fish. On the Ned rig. The water's a bit clear, so I have just a plain Ned rig. We're gonna let her go. Beautiful, beautiful. beautiful fish. Get her back. Oh my gosh, that is amazing, guys. Heck yeah. But that is why we fish in the cold. I have on a Ned rig. I got rid of that white jig head that I fished last week because I noticed that this side of the quarry has pretty clear water. So I switched to an all natural Ned rig there, guys. All natural. And swim bait wasn't working. I tried the top water for a bit on the other end where I was fishing that paddle tail, and I noticed really quickly that there wasn't a lot of fish shoving off from shallow water. I saw maybe 2 and they looked really small. So that led me to believe that there's not a lot of fish pushed up really shallow right now. Paddle tails probably still work. I feel like it might project itself a bit too much in this clear water because the water clarity over here is a lot better than over there. So I put on that Ned rig, like I said, and we caught that beautiful smallmouth. That is an incredible Iowa smallmouth, guys. Incredible. Alright guys, I think this is bass number 6. We just left the point for a minute, give it a rest, and there we go, the biggest one of the day for largemouth. It's a beautiful fish, beautiful gut, beautiful. Not as big as that smallmouth, but you know, just so fun. Low light rainy days, guys. Swim bait, Ned rig. The fish just chew on days like this. I have so much confidence in cloudy days. It just brings those fish shallow, and when you have that, like I've said a million times, when they're shallow you don't have a major water column to work. It's just so much easier because those fish are going to be somewhere between here and here instead of here and here. It's just so much easier. You can just work it laterally. You can cover so much ground, especially with these paddle tails, you know. And these paddle tails will catch a lot of different size fish. I honestly catch larger fish on worms and jigs usually, but the paddle tail will just get you bit. When those water temps get, like I said, into the mid 40s, you can just put one of these on and you can start covering ground. It's kind of the trade-off with that. You get bigger bites, it seems, at least in my opinion, with the worms and jigs, but you have to fish them so slow. With this bait you can cover a lot of ground, fish a little bit more aggressive, and still get bit and get more bites, especially. So a lot of fun fishing this swim bait today. And fishing it as slow as I am in these cold temperatures, I usually am able to pull out these snags. So I haven't lost one in a long time because I'm fishing it so slow that this hook, even though it's exposed, it can't get embedded in those rocks and that wood that's down there because I'm just fishing it at such a slow pace. Just working every depth I can, anywhere from probably about 4 feet out to 9-10 feet. That's about the water column I'm working here. Always got to have one of those. But yeah, it's just so fun to be fishing moving baits. I just can't stress that enough. With the long winter, we're in late March here, March 24th, and the fish are finally biting moving baits. So fun. Great morning to be out, and a lot of fun. Alright guys, it's been a couple days since we had that awesome trip, and I just kind of want to talk about this morning some of the changes I made that morning based on observations I made while I was out fishing. So Sunday morning I fished for 4 hours and ended up with 6 largemouth bass and that 1 smallmouth. And actually right before I left, I made one more cast and got broke off. 8-pound line. I think my drag was set just a bit too tight, and that's when I decided to call it a day. But all in all, it was a super fun morning. No complaints. Things like that happen from time to time, but it just keeps us hungry for more. I started with a white paddletail. I think that the water wasn't so dirty as it was, just it was still dark that morning. I thought there was a lot more suspended silt, but as it turns out, the water clarity was probably 2.5 feet. Early in the morning, that paddletail I think was a good choice because with that low light situation, flat white paddletail stood out more in that darker water. But as the sun came up and the cloud cover got lighter and lighter, it was time to switch out. Fishing that flat white swim bait, I just was not vibing it anymore. I could see it in the water, and I just thought that it showed up far too well in the water column. Like I said, I always shoot for something that shows up but doesn't project itself too much, because then, in my opinion, it doesn't look natural, and I think it just comes off a bit too strong for those bass. So what I did was I switched to the peanut butter and jelly AuthentX Pulse-R is what it is, and it's just another swim bait, just another type of paddle tail. A lot of walleye guys use it actually. What I liked about that color is that really light brown color on the underbelly. I thought that accent of light brown would make that bait stand out just enough, and as it turned out, that was correct. Those fish were hitting it better than any other bait I had thrown that morning, and I just kept it on the rest of the morning. They're still on those sharper breaking points and banks going out into the water. That's where they were. They're rockier, they have more cover along those breaking points and those breaks, and that's just what they're set up in. So just working anything from about, like I said, 4 foot down to 9 feet, I'd say is the water column I was working. I would just throw that swim bait out, let it settle to bottom, and just slowly reel it. I was reeling so slow that you could feel the rocks before you embedded that hook, and that's what makes that so effective. You don't get hung up, but you can still fish those rocks and that cover without getting hung up. So just slow rolling, guys. I don't jig it. I was not jigging it. I just throw it out there, let it fall to bottom, and just slowly rolling it. Every now and then I might just stop reeling so to let that bait settle back to the bottom, but other than that, I just slow crank it all the way to my toes, guys. There were a few times where bass would follow it. I could see a bass following it at a couple of points in time in the morning. So, you know, they're still observing that bait, still following it a lot of times. It seemed the way they were biting it that they were eating it pretty good. That's what I did. That was the thought process. To summarize, started with the white swim bait, but as the sun got higher and the cloud cover got lighter and lighter, that white projected itself too much, switched to that peanut butter and jelly. Loved the brown accent. It standed out just enough, but not too much, and it looked great in the water, and that's what they were biting. Caught the smallie on the Ned rig, just pounding in place, dragging bottom, but I just did that because the water clarity on the side of the lake I caught that smallmouth was the best in the quarry, and I just thought Ned rig was what I had on hand that looked and seemed like the best fit for that water clarity and water temperature. So that's why I fished the Ned rig on that end. Water temps are in the mid-40s here in central Iowa, so that is some moving bait temperatures as I'm finding out. It is warm enough, the water temps are now warm enough to be throwing some more reactionary and moving baits, some baits that require those fish to be more aggressive. What I've also observed is that those fish are fighting more aggressive. They are not just coming up and rolling over and die immediately when you set the hook on them. They're hitting the baits now. It's not just a mushy weight on the end of your line that where a bass just picked it up. You can actually feel these fish hitting the baits now. Like you can actually hear them, feel them smacking it instead of just taking it in. You can feel it. So they're getting there. They're getting more aggressive. It's gonna only get better and better from here, guys. We're in the clear. Get out there and fish despite the cold, the rain, the crummy weather. Just get out there. That cold and rain is gonna do you guys favors, guys. That wind and that rain and that cloud cover is gonna push those fish shallow, and while it's not comfortable to maybe be outside in conditions like that, I honestly believe it more favorable for catching numbers and better fish because it pushes them shallow. And you do not have that mega water column to work when they're deeper in clear water. They push shallow. You have this much water to deal with, so they're gonna run into it. They're gonna see it. Fish those crappy days.
You'll benefit from it. It'll do you some good. Get tough, get out there, catch those fish, rain or shine, because it's a lot of fun. Go catch a big one. I'll talk to you guys soon. Can't wait to get out again. Have a good one, guys. Bye.